The old stream of consciousness thought time as the camera zooms up on my mug. And the thought I had as a person who has left religion, specifically the denomination I was affiliated with, and religion in general, but specifically that because there might be people, because I didn't have great standing or anything like that. I was not known, so to speak, but I was labeled a leader in my particular building I attended, and as such, I'm sure people, other leaders have said, hey, what happened to that one guy? What happened to him and his wife? You know, what's the deal with them? And I would just like to say, I would like to talk to anyone. Excuse my phone. This thing is so wacko. It's the 4th of July, and it's just independent. And I would like to talk to anyone. If anyone would happen to come upon this and ferreting this out, I understand most people don't care. All they know is you're either in or you're out. And you're out in two ways. You're out as in having not been in yet, or you're out as in having left. And it's a strange dichotomy to me, because a lot of times I say, well, they were never in to begin with. Well, if I was never in to begin with, then I fit in the first category, the one who's out. So I should have the same status as far as I need to be reached. I'm a lost person, but that's not how it's treated. It goes along with the double-mindedness of religion. You know, I'm forgiven of all my sins, past, present, future. What do I do? When I sin, I beg God to forgive me. God is one, but he's really three. You know, all these things that make no sense, religion teaches you. So I was never really among them, so that's why they don't have to talk to me. Well, I was never really among them, so that's exactly why they should. But anyway, I don't want to get repetitive, but I just want to put it out there. If anyone was looking into it, hey, who's this guy? What's happened to him? Who does he think he is, or whatever? I would like to talk to anyone. Anyone. I think I can speak for my wife here to a certain extent. Maybe not anyone, but she certainly loves to talk to anyone who really wants to know, not just so they can sum you up and label you and throw you aside, like what most humans do. And in particular, I'm not saying just the religious world does this. The religious world gets it from the secular world when it labels people, whether it's the obvious things like your skin color or your political bent or whatever it is. The world and humanity in general likes to label people so they can embrace or reject them. You're in my club, you're not in my club. For I would love to talk to somebody who thinks or has some preconceived notion, just in general, maybe not about me specifically, but anyone who leaves their particular brand of religion is a backslider or is apostate or is whatever, especially if they find out what it is all about. It was all about reconciliation. God reconciled us to himself. He finished the work. The Bible clearly states that. God was in Christ. That one God, that one and only God was in that man Christ, reconciling the world to himself. Was past tense. He did it. That was the crux of the whole issue of why we're out, is because we didn't want to spend time trying to reconcile ourselves to God. And it was made very clear that we are not reconciled to our God, and that is not a point of discussion, and it will not be discussed. So when we knew that's the opposite of reality, hey, exit door, here we come. So anyone who wants to talk to me about that because they disagree with me or because they want to get where I'm coming from, we'd love to talk to you about that. One-on-one, in public, in an open forum, live. Now we can do it on YouTube, debate format, whatever. I would love to talk to anyone who would like to find out, question, challenge, whatever. Like I say, as long as it's not just for the purposes of labeling and throwing us in a box so they can feel justified in casting us aside. That's already been done, and I don't need to be engaged in that anymore. If that's what you're wanting to do, then go ahead and do it in your own mind. You don't need me to be involved in the process. So anyone, I mean, I'm seriously anyone. I don't know the big name marketing bucks. I'm sure none of them would bother to talk to me. But but even a mid-level muckety muck. your mid-level muckety mucks out there in Northern California of the Pentecostal party, or even your peons like me, who are just sweeping the floor and taking out the trash and doing the occasional Bible study or something, and you think I'm out of kilter, or you can help me learn something, as long as you're willing to admit that you don't know everything, because I don't know everything. I do believe in what I know, though, and until somebody can show me otherwise, I'm going to go with it. I believe very strongly, because I've checked out these things on both sides. I've never been Trinitarian, but I have looked at it very hard. I've looked at the hardest scriptures to see, is that real? Is that true? I've looked at grace. I've looked at religion. I've looked at freedom from religion. And I've been religious. I've been the one that believes I earned my salvation and was keeping my salvation according to my good behavior. I never got into the earning rewards in heaven, which is another new thing to me, that now that I'm in the quote-unquote grace community, I'll throw that in there, so it's not just for the people that travel in the circles we used to be in. If you're in the grace community and you think there's such a thing as rewards, that's not in the Bible. I don't care what you say. But if you can show me, I've had people try to explain it to me, wood, hay, and stubble, silver and gold and all this. That's not what that's about. It's just not. That's not God. We didn't exchange a carnal, worldly class system of the betters and the not so betters for a spiritual or heavenly version of that. That is absurd and ridiculous. God did not devise a class system whereby we can attain to this higher level and sit closer to him at his throne or his table at the feast, or have a bigger mansion in it. And if you say that's ridiculous, Mark, well, yeah, it is ridiculous, but there's people that believe it in the so-called grace community. They believe in grace, but yet they believe there's levels of blessing according to our behavior here on earth, which is just, it's almost offensive. It's so ridiculous. It's like the religion we escaped from. It is the same type of thing. They're not saying you can lose your salvation. But there it is. Anyone who wants to talk about anything, I'd love to engage in the comment section below, in a live chat, and if you live near me and you want to talk about it, want to talk to us about it, people who are truly curious, because we believe that's how we found the truth. We really wanted to know. Yeah, we still believe the way we believe when we used to believe that way, but we considered, not like in chapter 17 where it talks about that all they worried about is finding out some new thing. Not like that. I understand that you can just go crazy on new things, but we really wanted to know the truth, prioritizing the truth. We prioritize the truth to the exclusion of everything else. So therefore, yeah, sure, we would love to have stayed in our building and with our fellowship and all those things, but that wasn't the priority. So we did lose. Don't get me wrong, there was a loss. We did suffer a loss. It's just that in comparison to the reality of the love of our Father, of who he is and what he's done and what he does continually every day in our hearts and minds, is so much more of value. I don't know if that's a proper sentence. Is of so much more value than having fellowship with people who are lost and or just believe lies and can't grow and can't mature and can't rest in the love of their Father. It's a no-brainer. To rest in the love of God, or to have fellowship because some man says, no man is an island, you can't do that. Well, that's not the principle. That's not the standard. The standard is my God and trusting in him. And if I'm the only one who trusts him in my neighborhood, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to go to a place where they're trusting in themselves, which is what church buildings do. And I don't know what the percentage is, but my guess is it's in the very high 90s percentile, because everyone I ever seen, they all trust in themselves and what they're doing, and they're being taught that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in there that sense something is wrong, just like we sensed something was wrong for many years, but we just didn't know. And like I say, once we found out, there's no turning back. Once you know and understand faith in God and what that means, you don't want anything else. Because it's not just that now you have faith in God. Now you receive what he has for you through that faith. You receive that perfect love and acceptance that you could never find in a building. Never, ever. I don't care how emotional and how many tears and how you fell out, drunk and slain, whatever, in the spirit. There's nothing in those four walls and that roof and that saintly heavenly floor of that building and its pews and its altar and platform and special music or any of those things. After you gave your tithes and offerings and proved how much you loved him, there's none of those things are going to compare to when you just simply put your faith in him and respond to his call that you're his child and that he loves you. Do you believe that? When you believe that and this great love comes upon you, this great and perfect acceptance, you know right where you are loved and accepted, and there's not a thing you need to do or even could do to get that or to lose it. It's impossible. That is something that I'm in awe of. And in daily, my wife and I are both in awe of this, that we rest in that amazing, perfect, eternal love and acceptance our God has for us. God, continue to bless us all. In Jesus' name, amen.